College baseball from Gainesville, Florida, the finale of a three-game series between two elite teams. It's a top five showdown. Arkansas and Florida. Day baseball from Gainesville. The defending national champs take the field looking to win the series. Here's how it all played out. We take you back to under the lights on Friday night. Heston Kjerstad, a fantastic freshman for Arkansas with a big home run, and the pitching did the rest. Blaine Knight struck out 10. The Arkansas staff K'd 14 Florida batters and took game one 6-3. Well, payback is a doozy, and Florida got it in a big way. This first inning grand slam from Jonathan India set the tone, and they would add more. Jackson Kowar went 6. He got plenty of offensive support. 17-2 was the final. So here we go, finale of this series, and look at the standings. Been turned upside down. Georgia's 4-1 as Florida tries to play catch-up, and Arkansas still leading the West by half game over Ole Miss. And with that, we welcome you, Tom Hart, alongside Kyle Peterson. A series win in the SEC carries significant weight when you get to Selection Sunday, and if it's a series win against a top 5 team, that means even more.
Yeah, and Arkansas already has one of those this year. They're looking for another one this weekend. And when you look at this entire series and the way that it is, think of it from Arkansas' standpoint. If they can win today, they're 5-1, and they can cross Kentucky off, they can cross Florida off of their schedule. Would be huge for Florida. It'd get them to 4-2. And one of the guys that's got to play in this well is Jonathan India. Grand slam yesterday in the first, but honestly, the growth of Jonathan India this year has been pretty amazing offensively. You could always see that it was there. And defensively, he's been a big-time player since he stepped on campus. But look at the differences. The slugging percentage is double from what it was last year. The batting average is up 150 points. He's already hit more home runs than he did last year. He's one of the main reasons why this Florida offense is so different than it was last year.
Meanwhile, frustrating day for Dave Van Horn yesterday. It was his worst loss as a head coach at Arkansas in an SEC contest. He has shuffled the lineup in a big way. He's hoping for a couple of aces to come through. He has loaded it up with 7 different lefties, and he's moved Kjerstad, the freshman, into the 3-hole. He's also got some great bats coming off the bench when he decides to pinch hit once Florida makes a pitching change. But to start the game for the Gators, it'll be right-hander Tyler Dyson, 6'3", 225. He has struggled against lefties this season, but that's about all he's had problems with.
Yeah, he really burst onto the scene last year in the postseason. Had 2 starts. It was in the Super Regionals and Game 2 of the College World Series Finals. This year pushes into the starting rotation. The stuff is real. It's a mid-90s fastball with a power slider. I think the question today is, do the splits, and the splits are against left-handers, they hit 200 points higher than right-handers have this year. 7 left-handers in the lineup for Arkansas. Does it force him to change the approach at all today?
And so it's a fun challenge for Florida head coach Kevin O'Sullivan, coming off of his first national title. He's in his 11th season as the head coach here in Gainesville. He's won 69% of his games. He's got to try to match wits and play this chess game with Van Horn here in the finale of this 3-game series. Beautiful day for baseball, 75 degrees. We'll call it mostly sunny. Should be warm by the time we finish. And the first pitch to Arkansas shortstop Jax Biggers, misses upstairs from Dyson. Biggers, the first of 5 consecutive lefties that Dyson will have to face. And talking with Kevin O'Sullivan about it before the game, he said we'll put an emphasis on the changeup when Tyler Dyson is getting loose in the bullpen before the game. Let's see how that plays out. Biggers has been magnificent, especially in conference play. He's hitting .476 in SEC action. Both of his home runs have come in conference play as he looks at his strike.
So you see 2 different off-speed pitches today from Tyler Dyson. That was the slider. He can throw it down and into left-handers who try to backdoor it and then go with the changeup later on. This time trying to go fastball in. And you'll see the velocity in that fastball jump up into the mid-90s for Dyson when it's right. Control has been very good this year too. Just 6 walks and 29 strikeouts.
Just missed inside. And it takes the count full. I wonder mentally what kind of a challenge is this for Tyler Dyson to see 7 lefties in the lineup?
I think it's a good challenge. I think the biggest thing, though, if you're Dyson is, yes, you change a little bit to where you throw more changeups, but beside that, the approach has to be the exact same as it's been all year. Biggers patient right there, but pops a fastball up for the first out of the ballgame. This is what we were talking about. So here's your splits, and he's faced a decent number of left-handers this year, but they're hitting a full 200 points higher. Generally, when you see this against a right-hander, it's because the slider's very good and the changeup is not as good. For Dyson, the changeup's fine. It's just his third best pitch, and so he hasn't been forced to throw it very much this season. I think he'd be forced to throw it a little bit more today.
And he starts a breaking ball to Eric Cole, and had some issues with his footwork coming off the mound. Cole Jr. from South Lake Carroll High School in Texas. The mound is pretty well soaked, and so Dyson had to clean his spikes out before that second pitch. Might have been sticking a little bit. To the right side, and that one will be fielded in foul territory. Brady Smith missed a chance at an out.
Yeah, he did. He did. Brady Smith getting his first start of the weekend, and the way that these baselines go here in Florida, it's grass all the way down, and so you will get some balls that'll stay fair a little bit longer. That was one of them. He was playing deep, but if he comes and gets it about 3 or 4 steps earlier, you steal it out right there. Instead, Cole gets another chance. I mean, this ball, if it's on dirt, it's foul already, but on grass, it stays fair just a little bit longer. And Brady Smith just can't get there in time to field it fair.
Keenan Bell had started at first base the first 2 games of this series. Both teams have some significant bats on the bench to start this thing. Hooked down the line and right, that is a foul ball. You think about Arkansas's perspective. Luke Bonfield will start this game on the bench. Casey Martin has 7 home runs, top 10 in slugging in the league. He starts the game on the bench.
There's a few pieces to go to if they get a different look on the mound. If you're Florida, ideally you want to turn this into a 2-pitcher game. Dyson for as long as you can go, and Michael Byrne on the back end, who has not thrown yet in the first 2 games of this series.
Climb the ladder on him with 95, and Cole goes down swinging.
Good job of moving eye level. So the changeup was down to the zone, the slider was down to the zone, then Cole hooked foul down the line, and now we're going to elevate the fastball. And so it's in, out, it's different velocities, and this time it's hard for Cole to lay off because you've got to get ready for that mid-90s fastball. That one at 95.
That's the first K of the day. Freshman Heston Kjerstad swings at the first pitch. Out of Amarillo, Texas, Randall High School. He stands 6'3", 203. Got off to a great start. Reached base safely in the first 13 games this year. He's 5th in the league in batting average. And Kjerstad looks at a strike. Kjerstad 6th in the league in RBI, 7th in on-base percentage. Did he go? He did, according to Jason Bradley down the third base line. Back-to-back Ks for Tyler Dyson. The lefty's a non-issue through 1 inning. Well, Kevin O'Sullivan shouldn't have been hiding. His offense was magnificent yesterday. At front and center after you put up 17 runs on 15 hits. Only 1 left the ballpark, and that decided the game with a grand slam from Jonathan India in the first inning. India is down in the 5 hole, and if there is a hole in this Florida batting order right now, J.J. Schwartz has really struggled in conference play. They'll try to get him going. Florida hitters drew 8 walks yesterday, 6 of whom scored. So Dave Van Horn has put an emphasis on throwing strikes today. Casey Murphy's really good at that. 6-foot junior out of Rogers, Arkansas.
For Casey Murphy, the stuff's going to be a little bit different than we see from Dyson, but he'll get it up to 90 miles an hour. He can throw the fastball on both sides of the plate and the slider on both sides of the plate. Tim Corbin says this about guys, and I love the sound of it. He's got a good heartbeat, so he controls the pace of the ball game and really has the pace that he would want out there. Over the course of the season, Murphy's gone 21 to 30. He's walked 3 guys, and I think that's the biggest thing and biggest reason why he's in this Sunday role right now. You kind of know what you're going to get, and that's important for this Arkansas coaching staff after giving up 17 runs yesterday. He'll give up some hits, but it's going to be in the zone.
Murphy has not walked a batter over his last 2 appearances, and the last time out, he was out of the bullpen against Kentucky. Pitching coach Wes Johnson and this Arkansas staff got off to a pretty good start this year. Remember, this is an Arkansas team that gives their pitchers plenty of run support. They swept Kentucky last week. They've homered 20 times in the last 8 games, so I assume you're going to get a few runs behind you. Deacon Lippett's having a pretty good weekend. Florida's leadoff man, 6 for 9 with a home run. He has 10 hits in his last 13 at-bats. And after starting the season with a 194 average through his first 30 at-bats or so, he's up to 341. Lippett was a 29th round pick of the Dodgers last June, turned them down to return for his junior year. 1-1. At a great College World Series, he led Florida with 7 runs driven in. First national championship for the Gators after 11 trips to Omaha. In the air to left. Kerstad has plenty of space. 1 down.
Stood next to the cage today and watched Lippett hit for a long time. And 90% of the approach was to try to do that, to take the ball the other way. In fact, he was asking for everything to be on the outside part of the plate. The ball's going to fly that way today. And obviously, he didn't get all of that. But if there's a spot to where the wind's going to help you a little bit and it's going to fly more, it's absolutely going to be to left field.
So do you think that was something specific to the weather and the wind pattern today, or just something that he wants to work on overall as Maldonado steps in?
I think it's one he wants to work on. I think another piece of it is probably the way he's being pitched right now. You think that you're going to see more fastballs away, sliders away today, and he was just trying to get his mind right to that pitch.
Murphy misses low in the strike zone. Fred Cannon, the home plate umpire today. Maldonado's homered 3 times this season. But he's having a hard time getting it going this weekend. Going back to Friday when Florida's top 3 hitters went just 1 for 13. Maldonado is 1 for 7 in the first 2 games with 4 strikeouts. To right. Cole. 2 down. Florida always seems to have first-year impact players. This guy is no exception. Will Dalton. He's a sophomore from Spring Hill, Tennessee. Spent last year at Columbia State Community College. He has found his power stroke over the last 2 years. 10 home runs this season, second most in the league. Power surge, KP, really started last year in his lone year at the junior college ranks.
He said it was really a conscious decision. I mean, just to try to get the ball in the air, hit it hard, not necessarily to any particular field, but just to get it airborne and make solid contact as much as he can. Hit 15 home runs at the junior college level. He said, when I got there, my goal was to hit 10, and I wasn't even sure if I could get that. He's hit 10 already here this year in his first year of Division I baseball.
I guess it helps when your body matures at the same time.
And it has done that. When he was a sophomore in high school, he weighed 115 pounds. He's 215 now. So over the course of 4 years, he's put on that much weight, and it's good weight. It's turned into a totally different hitter.
5 home runs over the last 5 games. He had a 4-game home run streak snapped yesterday, even though he was still highly productive. The bloop single in the first inning was a key for Florida's 4-run frame. Then he doubled off the bag at third in the 3rd inning. If he keeps this up, he'll be the most popular Dalton outside of the double deuce. I mean, let's be honest, you're a Patrick Swayze fan, right?
Everybody is.
Could you not be?
Most are.
How many times did Swayze play a big city guy, came to the little town to make an impact?
Just hard to count.
Yeah, he's either
number of times
bouncing or dancing, one of the two. This guy's been hitting. kind of jump is that from the JUCO ranks to the SEC? I mean, especially, not like he had 2 years in there. He's just won and ready to go.
I think the biggest jump is consistency with secondary stuff. So, I mean, you'll see breaking stuff in counts that maybe you won't see as much at the junior college level. Velocity is going to be fairly comparable. You got guys that are throwing hard everywhere. It's just consistency in the zone and consistency with secondary pitches.
The only fastball he saw Friday, he put over the trees and left.
Well, the book is going to start to get out on Will Dalton, and that's when you can tell whether hitters can change the approach a little bit and adjust to what guys are doing on the mound, because he hammers fastballs, but has had a problem with it when it spins a little bit. That's why the strikeout number is up there. He struck out 27 times already.
27 strikeouts in this Florida's 27th game of the season. Full count. It was lost immediately by Cole. Now he recovers. And he handles it. It's a 1-2-3 frame, but Murphy was out there for a little while. We are scoreless through 1 on this Sunday afternoon. Let's take a look at the national headlines. Some noise being made out west. Oregon State's rolling again. Stanford under David Esker's a top 5 team. Brett Kenneman and NC State had a great series last week against Clemson, and Andrew Vaughn and Cal getting it done under a new coach. And then there's Casey Mize. He continues to dominate. His bullpen gave one away a couple of nights ago, though.
Casey Mize leading the country in strikeouts now. 63 strikeouts, 3 walks on the season for Casey Mize. Stanford's won the first 2 against SC. Chris Bubich, a left-hander, took a perfect game into the 7th last night.
What's different about Stanford this year? And I asked that in this vein as Dominic Fletcher stands in. We've known about Oregon State for years, and now David Esker, first-year head coach at Stanford. Baseball guys know about Stanford, but I think the common fan needs to learn a little bit more about what they're doing well.
Well, they have Tristan Beckett back, who should be a first-day draft guy this year. He missed all year last year. So now you have, between Beck and Chris Bubich, the left-hander, 2 real aces over the course of the weekend, and they've thrown that way the entire season. And they've got real talent offensively. Nico Horner's going to hear his name called really early. He's got a chance to be a big league shortstop. There's talent. There's more talent, but the pitching staff is real. So Dominic Fletcher hitting right now for Arkansas. I stood and watched him today in BP. He looked different than he even did yesterday in batting practice. Fletcher's been really pull happy this year. That's where the challenges have come. But he was using the field more in batting practice. The swing, to me, seems like it's really starting to come around. He could get hot for a month and a half, because this kid has a world of talent.
A couple of pop-ups and a fly out to left yesterday for Fletcher, and an 0 for 4.
He had 2 home runs in the opening weekend this year for Arkansas, and then didn't hit another one until game 1 of this series. Hit 12 his freshman year last year. So, I mean, there is real power in this bat. I think it's going to start to come alive.
A little bit late on that one, and he goes down swinging. 3 straight Ks now for Tyler Dyson.
Tyler Dyson's done a good job early of using that fastball up in the zone in strikeout counts. And with guys having to dial up for this pitch and be ready for the slider and the changeup, at least for the first 4 guys, they have not been able to lay off the fastball that's up and out of the zone. And that one, when he's throwing mid-90s, you're just not going to get to.
Here's Jared Gates, originally from Wichita, Kansas. He's a reliever out of Iowa Western.
Get a reliever drop in. Yes.
2 home runs for Gates, and he drops one into right field for the first hit for Arkansas. The Iowa Western Reavers. That's the mascot for the junior college just across the river from Omaha. A Reaver is a river pirate.
Yes.
If you're curious.
I knew it. I was going with river pirate, except you took it yourself. That's when you turn and ask a question. Do you know what a Reaver is? And I would have responded, a reaver is a river pirate.
Well, I beat you to
You
the
just took
punch.
it yourself.
I'm just thinking of the viewers sitting at home, not just
Me?
our friends in the truck, wondering what the heck is a reaver. This is Evan Lee. So the slider for a strike. Lee DHing. We've had senior Luke Bonfield in that DH spot. Six straight lefties stacked in this lineup against Tyler Dyson.
Tyler Dyson looks different than he did a week ago. Last week, the misses were all over the place. Really was not controlling the fastball in the spots of the zone that he wanted to throw it. Today, the misses are intentional for the most part. That one was trying to throw the fastball up and away.
Oh, hot shot off the glove of Lippett. Recovers and fires too late. Florida, one of the best fielding teams in the SEC, having a hard time here in the second inning. And the Razorbacks in position.
I think that second hop kind of surprised Lippett that it got on him that fast, because off the bat it looked like inning-ending double play, and Tyler Dyson and the Gators are going to be standing in the dugout. It really tied him up.
Official score says base hit for Evan Lee.
I don't know about that. Ball's hit hard, but it's hit right at him.
Here's Grant Cook, the Arkansas catcher out of Fayetteville High School. Scary moment for Cook late in the game yesterday, when a foul ball was pulled into the Arkansas dugout, caromed off the back wall and hit him in the side / back of the head.
I mean, Cook, who is behind home plate all the time, gets through the game. They take him out. It's 17-1 or 17-2 at this point. Got him right below the left eye. I talked to him today about it, and he said, yeah, I mean, I don't get hit the whole game standing behind home plate, leaning up against the dugout. Got him square, but said he feels good, ready to go. He's a rock behind home plate for Arkansas.
Kevin O'Sullivan out to chat with Tyler Dyson. He's the first right-hander for Dyson to face today. Arkansas 2 for 16 this series with runners in scoring position. Popped him up. Austin Langworthy, 2 down. It's a big out. Runner at second is Jared Gates. He reached on a single to right, and then Evan Lee with that shot up the middle put 2 aboard for the Hogs. Here's Hunter Wilson. This is the 5th start of the season for Wilson. Freshman from Rosenberg, Texas. Bounced around a couple of stops. Terry High School, then Eastern Oklahoma, then Stephen F. Austin. And he sends this one towards the gap in right center. Horvath will catch up to it. And Arkansas's threat goes by the wayside in the second inning after back-to-back hits, nothing to show for it. They strand 2 at the bottom of the second.
Dyson on the ground, he'll come home with it. Rivera tags Robertson, boom! Lippett with the bases loaded. Deacon Lippett makes it 5-1 Florida. On the ground to second. And the Gators get their first College World Series championship.
Florida's pitching and defense got it done with a national title last year, trying to repeat since '96. We've had 3 teams do it. LSU did it 96, 97 under Skip Bertman. Oregon State with all those kids from the Pacific Northwest and Oregon laden lineup. And Ray Tanner, the comeback kids in 2010 and 2011, they knew drama. And there was some drama in Omaha in that second game. Florida had to get out of first and third jams with nobody out in both the 7th and the 8th in a 1-run game. They added a couple runs late, made it seem anticlimactic, but there were some big plays in that championship series. Here's J.J. Schwartz. Schwartz hitless this weekend. Foul territory. Hunter Wilson hustling. Grant Cook back. And it's into row 3.
We saw that look from Schwartz a few times yesterday, and the outcome was the exact same. It was balls that were fouled straight back. There might not be anybody in the ballpark that likes the wind blowing out to left more than J.J. Schwartz, because most of his home runs and the balls that he hits well are going to come to left field, but he's just missing it right now. He just missed a few yesterday, and he just missed that one.
Jonathan India waits on deck. He's been fantastic, but Schwartz having a hard time in conference play. Just 2 for 21 with 9 strikeouts over 5 SEC games. Last 2 years, a tremendous job turning it on late in the season. He took off on tax day last year, April 15th, at a big game against Vandy. Never seemed to slow down. th round pick of the Brewers coming out of Palm Beach Gardens High School, and then a 38th round pick of the Rays last year. Cook held on to that one. So 1 down. And the table is clear for Jonathan India, who's leading the SEC in hitting. And for the average, he's got a lot of pop. This was his 9th home run in opposite field. Grand slam yesterday to decide the game in the opening inning.
I think this kid's going to play the big leagues for a while. His growth over the 3 years in Florida, the plate has been outstanding. He can really defend at third base. It's more power than you would expect to see out of this body. But watch how quiet the top half is. And I was talking to him about it today, just how he's gotten to the point where he doesn't feel like he has to generate power. Earlier in his career, he was trying to do too much to generate power with a lot of moving parts. Now he trusts his swing so much, and the power numbers just continue to rise.
Earlier this season, he had a 2 home run game against North Florida. This one well hit, deep right field. It is off the top of the wall. Cole trying to track it down. India headed to third. A 1-out triple for Jonathan India.
He is so locked in now and is so comfortable. And so much of that comfort is letting the ball travel. He's not trying to pull it. The home run yesterday went out to right center. This one's a fastball that they're trying to come in on the hands, and it sneaks over the middle or outer third of the plate. And his ability to drive the ball all over the ballpark with power is what's really been the biggest change this year for India. The wind's the only thing that kept that in. It pushed it to the bigger part of the ballpark a little bit more. I think off the bat, India thought he had left the yard again. Instead, it's a 1-out triple for a kid that just keeps hitting.
And it's now an 11-game hit streak for India, who was 5 for 6 this weekend. 606 average during this hit streak. Breaking ball catches the outside corner for a strike to Blake Reese. Junior from Tallahassee, 0 for 5 this weekend, but with 3 walks. He'll see his hometown team this week as Florida and Florida State meet in the midweek again.
Good take. Good take by Blake Reese, who before the game was just talking about how he hadn't had that many right-handed at-bats lately. Switch hitter. They've just faced a lot of right-handed pitchers, so Reese has not been on this side of the plate very often.
Wynn might grab this one. It'll push Fletcher back deep enough to score the run. And India trots home the final 90 on a sac fly from Blake Reese. It's 1-0 Gators.
Well done, simple game. Get yourself a one-out triple, stand on third base, and Blake Reese knows with that win, you get it airborne to center, left center. Should carry deep enough out there. Simplified what he was trying to do, and the Gators are on the board.
Florida's 13-1 this season when scoring first. They're already to 20 wins. Here's Nick Horvath. Tied for third in the league with 9 doubles to go with a .305 average. Two-way player, also pitches out of the bullpen. And swings at the first here. Off the mound, Murphy. That'll close the Gators half of the second, but not before Jonathan India plays a key role again. A triple to get him there, a sac fly to bring. Tuesday night on the SEC Network, we'll take you to the home of the Jumbo Shrimp for a top 10 showdown. Florida State and Florida meet at the baseball grounds of Jacksonville. Game time 6 Eastern, 5 Central, also streaming live on the ESPN app. Mike Martin is the Jumbo Shrimp, right? That's a big dude. Number 11 is a legend, 39th season as a head coach at Florida State, trying to pass the late Augie Garrido for career wins and the most in NCAA history.
One of the pure gentlemen in this game, and now just 12 wins away from tying Augie Garrido's all-time wins number. How about that? He's been there 39 years. This is 39th. In the previous 38, Mike Martin has never missed the postseason and has won 40 games in every year. Carson
Shaddy sends this one to center field. When you get there Tuesday, I want you to ask him, and you probably have before already, a story about how he got hired. He was an assistant to Dick Hauser. Dick Hauser, who played at Florida State.
Hold on. You want me to ask him, but now you're going to tell me?
Well, I'm going to give you. I don't think our viewers should have to wait till Tuesday.
No, it's fair enough. I mean, it's called a tease, but if you want to roll with it, fire.
It's going to mean more coming from him. Here's Jack Spiggers, who was 0 for 1.
My apologies, I interrupted your story.
I'll give you some bullet points.
All right.
Billy Martin was fired by the Yankees. George Steinbrenner calls the Florida State dugout on a random fall afternoon. And why in 1979 does Florida State have phones in their dugouts, and how does George Steinbrenner have that number? I don't know. Those are questions that you could probably pose to 11. Okay. They had a volunteer coach at the time, one of the few programs that had a third coach, who was coming over from his real job. Everybody else is on the field. He just happens to be walking through the dugout when the phone rings. If he doesn't pick up the phone, knowing Steinbrenner's temperament, how quickly does Steinbrenner go to the next guy, never hire Dick Hauser, and therefore never have a job opening in Tallahassee, which Mike Martin could take over?
I'll tell you what, I'll ask him. I'll ask him on Tuesday. I'll get you an update. I didn't ever
call that the butterfly effect, right? When a butterfly half the way around the world. Butterfly. Different than dragonfly. 1-out walk puts Jack Spiggers aboard. We have seen some turnover among some of the greatest coaches in NCAA history over the last couple of years, and we're seeing more, and we'll see more going forward. Wayne Graham at Rice, who's been there forever and a day. Mike Martin is in the sunset of his career. Mark Marquis, retired.
Jim Morris at Miami. Yeah, I mean, some of the best, really, that there's ever been.
Eric Cole fouls one off.
First pitch changeup there from Dyson, and let's see second time around. It was more sliders than changeups against the left-hander the first time around the order. Let's see if Dyson starts throwing the changeup early. Also, I'd be surprised if Arkansas plays station to station against Dyson today. Biggers is 4 for 4 on the year in stolen bases. Schwartz has only thrown out 2 of 15 all year.
Dave Van Horn in his 16th season as the head coach at Arkansas. Came to the Hill from Nebraska, where he took the Cornhuskers to a couple of appearances in the College World Series. He's done the same with the Hogs as Biggers gets back. 4 for 4 bags this year as Biggers. Florida was blessed with some great defensive catchers over the last couple of years. Mike Rivera, not just from a throwing standpoint, but also a catching standpoint. Receiving, I should say. Oh, that one hit the bat, and it's going to allow Biggers to move down to second. J.J. Schwartz's throw back to the mound went off of Cole's bat, and if I got this right, if he's still in the batter's box, there's nothing doing. That happened in the Major League postseason a couple of years ago.
I've never seen this happen. I've never seen this happen, and you can see, watch the bat of Cole, and he's not doing anything intentional. Obviously, he's just standing there, and J.J. Schwartz's throw back goes right off the end of the bat. Jax Biggers paying enough attention that he just strolls into second base.
Fred Cannon will offer an explanation to Kevin O'Sullivan. It'd be different if Cole were out of the batter's box or made an attempt to interfere with the throw. Goes as an error on J.J. Schwartz. I think that happened in a Major League wild card game probably 2 or 3 years ago. And it came on a stolen base attempt, if I remember correctly. J.J. Schwartz, you certainly don't expect that to happen. Full count. Back-to-back walks from Tyler Dyson.
Give Arkansas credit too. I mean, they've pushed the count deep on Tyler Dyson a fair amount already today. 45 pitches, he's thrown a fair amount of strikes. I mean, it's a 60-40 split so far, but for Dyson, it feels like he's more comfortable throwing the slider for a strike than he is the fastball for a strike. The better fastballs have been elevated up and out of the zone on swing and miss counts. That's the one that he's been comfortable throwing the entire day. That's the slider. The difference with a left-handed loaded lineup, 7 of the 9 hitters in this Arkansas lineup, is that slider, when it breaks, comes back into the barrel. So it's easier if the timing is just a little bit off, it's easier to keep that barrel in the zone.
Kerstad to the right side, sliding stop by Reese. First is the only play. 2 down.
That's a good decision by Reese to not get greedy right there, because he played the entire ground ball like he was going to first base the whole time with no thought of spinning and going to second. Kind of surrounded it, made sure that he gloved it. And make sure you get that out. With 2 outs right here, I think the discussion is, do you want to go after Dominic Fletcher or put him on and get to Gates?
By the way, Game 5 of the ALDS a few years ago between the Rangers and Blue Jays, it led to run scoring on a similar situation. When the Blue Jays catcher on a throwback hit the bat, and it was the go-ahead run. That was a little bit different because it led to an immediate run with a runner at third. Now Biggers is at third with Cole behind him at second.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it with guys on base where the base runner advances. I mean, clearly it's the right call. It goes as an error against J.J. Schwartz. I've seen it happen with nobody on base, but never affect a runner like it did. Now, ultimately, it didn't affect anything because he ended up walking the next guy. But
well, you could say that, but don't you think Tyler Dyson's approach and focus is a little bit different?
Could have been. Be careful with that slider against Fletcher right now. He struck him out on a high fastball his first at bat.
Lifted to center. Outfielders having a hard time seeing the ball off the bat so far this afternoon. Horvath has plenty of time to recover. And Arkansas strands a pair of runners for the second consecutive inning. 1-0 Florida. Here's what's happening in the Southeastern Conference this week. And Ole Miss in a tight series in College Station won 2 out of 3. All 3 games were decided by just 1 run. Kentucky won game 1 of their series with Auburn. They'll play 2 today. At least that's the plan. And it was a late night on the West End last night. It was continued this morning. The series between LSU and Vandy is tied at 1. How are our guys doing in Nashville?
Yeah, Chris Burke, Dave Neal could have some issues today. They had to show up and do the balance of game 2 this morning, then roll right back into game 3 right now. The winner takes that series between LSU and Vanderbilt.
Is that a chicken tender?
Kind of having life figured out. Yeah. Bucket hat, chicken finger, and the sun's out.
We need to add that bucket hat to Mike Rooney's list, or at least his wish list. Here's Austin Langworthy batting in the 8th hole. Florida's lone run came in the 2nd on a triple, followed by a sac fly. Langworthy from just down the road in Williston, Florida. Count 1-1 now. (18) of Murphy's 29 pitches have been strikes. Nice departure for the Hogs from Isaiah Campbell's struggles with the strike zone yesterday. 2-2.
I think he tried to cut that fastball a little bit. Throw that fastball on the outside part of the plate to a left-hander. And just get around it a little bit. Wes Johnson, the pitching coach from Arkansas, has moved a cutter into the repertoire of a lot of these guys for Arkansas this year. Then he comes back with a slider right behind it. That's well done. You can tell the difference in those, one by the level of break. The slider's going to break more than the cutter, and the other is by the velocity. But this one to Austin Langworthy is the slider. Grant Cookman's all the way on the outside part of the plate. You want to start it over the middle, let the movement take over from there. Ideally, it finishes off the plate, and Langworthy just can't reach it.
Isaiah Campbell had a hard time finding the strike zone yesterday. 44 pitches, 21 out of the strike zone. Here's Brady Smith. First pitch strike to Smith. Freshman from Niceville, Florida. Batting in the 9 hole. I want to ask you about a cutter. How does that complement the slider? And is it difficult to throw both?
Can be. I mean, really, the cutter and the way that Wes Johnson teaches it is to move your thumb on a seam and then to really create the pitch with your middle finger. So to more throw through the baseball.
To third, Wilson. 2 down.
Instead of over the top when you let it go. So the better cutters of the game, Rivera, Kenley Jansen, most recently for the Dodgers. Some have a little bit of depth, but it's more side to side. It almost looks like a wiffle ball when it's going towards home plate. The wiffle balls that have the holes on one side, not on the other. Slider generally is going to have more depth. So it'll go more up to down, and guys can't throw the pitch as hard. But there's nothing wrong with throwing both, because to a hitter, they look different. The cutter you don't recognize as much. It's a little bit flatter. Really, it's more of a barrel misser. The slider is more of a strikeout pitch, which is exactly what Murphy got against Langworth.
A barrel misser, which at the next level is also a bat break.
Exactly.
Breaking ball into Deacon Lippett for a first pitch strike. Lippett flew out to left his first time up. Out of play, 0-2. Lippett was the everyday second baseman for this Florida team last year that won the national championship. Dalton Guthrie was at short. For years, Kevin O'Sullivan has done a magnificent job of just recruiting shortstops and saying, we'll find a place for you to play. Swung at one in the dirt. Cook will have to throw down to finish the K. And that is the third strikeout for Casey Murphy. When we return, Jackson Coar's got the headset.
He's ready. He's got it on early.
Yeah, let's go,
Preparation.
Jackson Coar was fantastic yesterday for Florida.
Yeah, I mean, he really got it going later on. And the changeup is the one thing that we talk about with Jackson that is better than anybody in the entire country. When it is right, it has big-time sink. The arm action's the exact same. And then a fastball that just can explode. He was up to 97 yesterday. Field to get a little bit more comfortable during the course. And he's listening to us. He's listened to us for a half inning. So at some point, we're going to need to get some feedback as to how we're doing upstairs. But welcome, buddy. It's good to talk to you.
Nice to be on.
What'd you think of our call the last half inning? What'd you learn?
And be honest. Like, I mean, you can offend Hart. You can't really offend me. So fire.
No, it was rock solid. I think you guys were spot on, and I was learning, so it was good.
How'd you feel? Like, what do you think was good last night? What's something that you feel like you need to get better on as the season goes?
Yeah, obviously, I think it was good to throw up some zeros. You know, I wish I was a little more efficient throughout the game and could have gone a little deeper, but it was, you know, with the offense that we had yesterday, there's no excuse to not go in there and just go after guys. So it's just exciting to go pitch when we're scoring that many runs and just trying to get the guys back in the dugout so they can swing it.
You're kind of used to it, or you should be. Last year, you got 6.7 runs per game of support. I mean, that's an incredible number. What kind of confidence and leeway does that give you as a pitcher? I mean, obviously, not every game's going to be 17-2, but when you know that you have an offense behind you that can put up crooked numbers.
Yeah, and it's not just that. It's the guys that are hitting also play defense, and they're always top of the country at that as well. So, yeah, it makes it, you know, easy to want to go out there and have quick innings and work with pace and work with tempo and get them back in there. And gives you a lot of confidence when you know the boys are swinging it. So,
what do you see from Tyler so far today?
Yeah, I think he's done well. Obviously, he's thrown 3 zeros up. This is a phenomenal offensive club, and they stacked him up with lefties, so that's going to be a challenge for him. But I think he's handling it well, and I think he's going to, you know, have to use all 3 pitches today to be effective. But I think he's going to, you know, continue to throw zeros up.
You know, it's interesting. So the offensive approach against you.
Oh, this one's poked to left. It'll push Langworthy over the fence, and it'll ride the jet stream out of here with a solo home run for Jared Gates. We're tied at 1 now on the 3rd home run of the season from Gates.
Well, there's a reason that they tried to load the left-handers up, and one is because of the slider from Tyler Dyson. The other, if that fastball's away, and you got to remember, Jared Gates has missed some time. He's got a hamstring issue. He's still not 100% and has not played in a few weeks. But Gates now in there, and he's 2 for 2. That swing right there evens it up. Jackson, what I was going to ask you is, the lineup approach against you and the lineup approach against Tyler is probably a little bit different.
Yeah,
because you've got the changeup, which can take a lefty out of a ball game, and he's got the slider, which can take a righty out. So I'll ask it a little different way. If they load you up with right-handers, how does it change the way that you go about it on the mound?
Yeah, you know, obviously that's going to bring my breaking ball into play a lot more. So, you know, versus righties just landing that first strike. I do feel comfortable.
Langworthy and Horvath back. It is gone. Back-to-back jacks for Arkansas. It's Lee this time with his first home run of the season. And Jackson Coar loses the timing award of the year. Put the headset on and they go back-to-back.
Yeah, those are tough. It's pretty brisky up there, so those aren't hit all that hard, but it's just there's a jet stream right now, so.
That's where it's going to fly today.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get backspin to left center, the ball's got a chance to leave. And this is one, if the wind's not blowing that way, I mean, Nick Horvath's going to run this ball down. He just flat runs out of the room.
Here's Grant Cook. I want to follow up KP's question there, Jackson. When you know you're facing a righty-heavy lineup, using you specifically, and you've got to get your breaking ball across, do you put more, just kind of let us behind the curtain here, do you put more focus and prep into that when you're getting loose before the game?
Yeah, absolutely. And then usually going into the week, we're prepared for the lineup that we're going to face. So if it's righty heavy, I'll try to throw in, maybe have a righty stand in there during my midweek pen and work on that visual and spinning the ball with a righty standing in there. I think that's big, especially, throwing bullpen sometimes can be a little deceiving just because there's no one in there and it doesn't really simulate the game all that well. So if I know I'm going to need to spin it for a strike, I'll definitely try to throw some righty batters in there and ask some guys to stand in and help me get that visual with the righty in there.
Jackson, thanks so much for your time. Yeah. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Great, buddy.
Jackson Kowar got the start in the win for Florida yesterday. I think that's really interesting, folks. Viewers see them when they take the mound, but we don't see what happens to prep for a start in the bullpen right before they come out.
Well, and the other thing, lineups came out early today, and that doesn't always happen. So Tyler Dyson, when he was warming up, if there was a discussion, knew exactly what the lineup was, and it's different. I would say this. It has worked because the two guys that have gone deep today, Jared Gates and Evan Lee, neither one of them played in the first two games of this series or started in the first two games of this series. They both have 2 hits. They both have solo home runs. Dave Van Hart is one of the best technicians of this game in the college game. And he played a hunch today, but the hunch was entirely based on data. Left-handers' numbers are 200 points higher from a batting average standpoint than right-handers against Tyler Dyson this year. Both home runs are from left-handers.
Okay, so what's next? And what's next for Florida is if the lefties continue to do damage and Dyson comes out earlier than normal, you've got Jordan Butler as a lefty in the bullpen that Kevin O'Sullivan can go to. But then at that point, you're bringing into play 2 other starters. They're on the bench right now, Bonfield and Martin.
Well, this is the advantage when you have one of the deepest, if not the deepest, offenses in the entire country, and that's Arkansas. To where if you're Dave Van Horn, you can take out a freshman in Casey Martin who's going to be a freshman All-American, and Luke Bonfield, who hits 4th for you almost every night. And then you can plug them into the ball game later on if you need a little bit of juice or you get a different look on the mound. And Tyler Dyson's throwing the ball fine. It's just 2 fastballs that were elevated enough to left-handers that they could backspin to left field. I am interested to see if you live on the inner third of the plate, if you're Dyson, with the fastball against left-handers. And take that swing more out of play. You have to execute the pitch, but if he gets it in, it's a lot harder to hit that ball to left field with authority.
This is the 8-hole hitter, Hunter Wilson, 0 for 1 with a fly out to center. The home runs from Gates and Lee both came on fastballs, and this one's lined to right. 2 down. Dave Van Horn will join us after this half inning. We'll talk to him about his lineup and the decision to load it up with lefties. 7 of the 9 hitters in this Arkansas batting order go from the left side against the right-hander Tyler Dyson. That includes switch hitter Eric Cole. One of the 2 righties is Carson Shaddy. He's got 6 home runs on the season, 2 of them in conference play. A 4-pitch walk to the 9-hole hitter. It's the 3rd walk. 2nd time through has not been kind to Tyler Dyson. 3 walks and the 2 home runs.
He was in a rhythm. It goes 1, 2, 3 in the first. Gave up 2 singles in the second. And then 2 walks in the 3rd inning. And really the issue today for Dyson has just been fastball control. It was great in the first inning. It's wavered a little bit since then. This is a guy that over the course of the year had walked 6 in 30 1/3 innings. He's walked 3 already today, and there is no action at this point in that Florida bullpen, and I don't expect that there will be for a little bit longer. If you're Kevin O'Sullivan, if you go 6 from Dyson, you can extend Michael Byrne today and go 3. That's the ideal.
That is a look inside, as best we can show you, the Florida bullpen. They're hidden behind those garage doors. Inside, 2-0. Butler does remain an option, though, as Brady Smith goes to the mound. And you could go 5-2-2, 5-1, whatever. You could, but it's rare on a weekend series if you've won a game, which Florida has at this point, that in the first 2, Michael Byrne hasn't thrown. Yes. It just doesn't happen very often, and so it gives you a little bit more leeway in game 3 with your closer, who's not a 3-out guy. I mean, he went 7 outs last weekend against South Carolina to get the save in game 3. It's a fascinating chess match.
Yes, and it's two of the better in the entire country at playing that game. I mean, it's when you get game 3, you got your top guys in the bullpen. So it's Byrne for Florida, Matt Cronin for Arkansas, and guys that are throwing strikes. Casey Murphy absolutely has tonight. It creates a perfect setup.
Runner goes, ball is lifted into center field. Horvath for the 3rd out. Back-to-back jacks for Arkansas. Jared Gates and Evan Lee. And the Hogs, in trying to win their second SEC series, have their first lead of the game. A couple of opposite field shots. First for Gates and then for Lee. And it's 2-1 Hogs, middle of the 4th. Arkansas leads Florida 2-1. Tom Hart alongside Kyle Peterson. Happy to be joined in the Razorbacks dugout by head coach Dave Van Horn. Coach, the numbers suggest that Tyler Dyson has struggled against lefties this season. When did you make the decision to load your lineup up with 7 lefties?
Pretty much on the way back to the hotel last night on the bus, just going through it after that beating we took, and just figured we'd switch it up a little bit. We got some good left-handed hitters, and I mean, the numbers said that's what to do, and I talked to the players about it before the game, told them I wasn't mad at anybody. It's what we're going to do for a while and see how it goes.
So just a question, 15, 20 years ago, do you make the same decision? Do you take a senior that hits 4th out of your lineup and Casey Martin out of it?
Probably not, probably because he beat me up. You know, I'm really older now. Do what we got to do now.
Casey Murphy in this spot, and you needed stability on the mound today, and he's a guy that instantly gives you stability. When he's right, what do you see?
Well, he throws a lot of strikes, and he can throw that breaking ball for a strike early in the count. Just mixes it up a lot like he's doing so far.
Coach, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, thank you.
It's a 2-1 lead for the Razorbacks. They swept Kentucky last week in front of some fantastic crowds at Baum Stadium in Fayetteville. This is a league that takes no quarter. There is no mercy in this league. 17-2 was the final yesterday. Maldonado lifts one into center. And if you look at what Arkansas has coming up on the schedule, I mean, listen, there's no chance to breathe.
No, I mean, they didn't even breathe in midweek.
Yeah.
At this point.
And they still have Texas Tech coming up.
So they go home for 18 hours. Go straight to Memphis, play Memphis in a midweek. And then 3 at Ole Miss. Auburn visits Fayetteville the week after that. And then it lightens up a little bit. But I mean, you start within this league, Kentucky at home, at Florida, at Ole Miss, and Auburn. As the polls sit right now, those are all 4 top 10 teams that you're facing to start the league. And if they win today, they start 5-1. I mean, that is a big-time start if you're Arkansas. Even if you get beat today and you start 4-2 against those 2, that's you. I think Dave Van Horn would take that every time.
This is Will Dalton, who is 0 for 1 of the fly out to right. And you obviously have to take into consideration playing this series on the road. Florida's almost unbeatable at home. I mean, not only are they the second-ranked team in the country, but this is their home field. They took the opener of this series 6-3. Had a bad day at the office yesterday. To the left side, under the glove of Wilson. I think one of the frustrations from Dave Van Horn with his team's performance yesterday was focus and execution, including an early game throwing error, a veteran shortstop who didn't make a cutoff, and now you get a ball that goes under the glove of the third baseman.
That one just didn't start well for Wilson. I mean, the footwork never looked like he was comfortable when that ball came off the bat. Remember, Casey Martin has started most of the games this year at third base for Arkansas, so it's a little bit different spot for Hunter Wilson. That baseball kind of played him.
Wilson's second error of the season. And here's J.J. Schwartz, 0 for 10 this weekend with 5 strikeouts. Talked about. There goes the runner and the pitch in the dirt. Cook's throw is high and late. And Dalton picks up an extra 90. Wild pitch from Murphy.
Good work by Will Dalton over on first base, too, because the secondary lead is not huge, but he's reading this ball down in the dirt. And you can see it's a false step, and then he decides to go. But watch Cook. It's that extra step when he got there. If he throws it before he has to re-grip right there, he's got a chance to throw Will Dalton out at second base. But that extra step gave Dalton enough time after what was a good jump, but not a great jump on first base when he read that ball down in the dirt.
Two and 0 now to Schwartz. And it's 3-0. Murphy has yet to walk a batter today. While J.J. Schwartz remains a power threat, he's hitting under 100 in conference play, 2 for 22. Florida won their first series on the road. They took 2 out of 3 in front of a raucous crowd in Columbia, South Carolina last week.
I'm surprised they didn't free him up there. And maybe they did, and that might not have been the pitch that J.J. Schwartz was looking for. But with the struggles this weekend, and maybe the worry is that he tries to do too much on that 3-0 count. But he can make it 3-2 real quick. And he took a pitch that he can absolutely hit out of the ballpark.
One of his 6 home runs have come with a runner in scoring position. High, deep, left, and gone. 2-run shot for J.J. Schwartz.
Stoic face is the one thing you're used to seeing from J.J. Schwartz, but you know that puts a smile on his face on the inside. If he's not going to show it, he ought to on this one. It's a 3-2 fastball that is right down Broadway. And the way that this wind is blowing today, we've already seen it affect balls into left center. I don't care whichever way the wind's blowing right now. This ball's leaving, and you can see the Florida bench the minute it comes off the bat. He was due for one of these. Took a 3-0 fastball right down the middle, fouled off a 3-1 fastball straight back, and he had just missed balls the last few days. He didn't just miss any of that.
4 of the 5 runs scored in this game have come via the long ball, and I was just thinking, for a Sunday game and with Sunday starters and the wind blowing out, this is still very much a low-scoring game.
It is, and yes, we have Sunday starters, but we have two very different guys. Murphy's a guy that pitches to contact. I mean, he'll get you some strikeouts, obviously, but he's going to pitch a little bit more to contact. And when Tyler Dyson is right, he'll get you a few more strikeouts. But the long ball has really played into this one, and it has for both of these offenses this year. I mean, they're top 3 in the SEC in power numbers. I think they will be the entire season, and we've seen why today. Jonathan India just missed a home run to right field, went as a triple. He came in and scored the first run for Florida. And then J.J. Schwartz makes it 3-2 on that swing.
Will Dalton, the freshman, chatting with the senior J.J. Schwartz after that home run.
That slider missed right down the middle. See Grant Cook, the catcher's reaction after that. He was waiting to hear something, and he didn't.
One of Murphy's 50 have found the strike zone. Jonathan India leading the league in batting average. One of the few power hitters in the league's top 10 in average.
See if they go back there. So the pitch that India hit out yesterday was a fastball away. The pitch that he hit off the right center field fence was a fastball away. That reaction shows you that he might not want it in there right now. See if they double up and go another fastball in.
The last one went off the top of the fence and right.
Slider. It does set that one up. You go fastball in, they get the reaction from India where he kind of gaps and comes off the plate the pitch before. So you speed his mind up, then slow it down with the slider, and he swung right through it.
This is Blake Reese. Drove in a run with a sac fly into second. Reese is now a regular. He has worked his way into the starting lineup in his 3rd season in the program. 0 starts in only 12 games as a freshman in 2016. He saw action in 40 games last year. 2-1. Casey Murphy has struck out 4. He hasn't walked a batter today.
I like his pace, and I've liked it from the beginning of the game. Really, every time you see Casey Murphy out there, there's a confidence when he gets a baseball back. He gets right back on top of the mound, and he's ready to go.
That first walk for getting Reese down to 2 strikes. Nick Horvath 0 for 1. Got him picked off, and a little bit of rundown here Biggers will chase Reese back. And nobody got there. Reese wants a replay of it. Murphy looked a little late getting back to the bag. And that's going to bring this umpiring crew together. We saw one replay yesterday. Tag play calls are reviewable in the SEC experimental reviewable calls column.
I think he's safe. I mean, Jax Biggers came up and was calling for replay right away. Jared Gates, the first baseman, did a great job of this to get it to Biggers right away and then allow his shortstop to potentially make a play, but you got to get rid of it right there. Once he had the base runner's back turned, and that was Reese heading back to first base, Gates was in a spot where if you throw it to him, he's going to tag him and it's the inning over. And I think Biggers just tried to do a little bit too much. Even on replay, to me, it looked like he was safe. I thought the right hand got back to the base, and I did not see him come off at first.
It must be indisputable video evidence. Crew chief Jeff Head has gone right behind home plate and under the stands to take a look at it. 22 pitches already this inning, so you can see why it'd be key to get this third out. So the question is, did he get him on the knee before Reese got his hand on the bag? In college baseball, there is no video expert waiting back in the clubhouse to educate the head coach on whether or not he should challenge it. And so Biggers,
I think this is going to be your best look.
Got him as safe, don't you? Point being, Biggers campaigned for it, and he's got to, the coach has to trust that in that scenario. It's not like there's somebody on staff who's saying he got him or he didn't.
When you watch the right hand, the key is where is the tag and when does it come in from Biggers? They're both laying out. And that's about as close as you can get. I honestly think it's one of those that whichever way it was called, you probably keep it the exact same. The glove may have just got there before, but you can't tell when there's actual contact made with the glove.
Jeff Head will tell us.
And I think if they would have called him out, I think it would have stayed as calling him out. I think it was that close when you roll it back frame by frame as to whether the hand was there and exactly when the tag came on.
You get two challenges. Okay, so let's walk through this aspect of gamesmanship. It is a one-run game, and it is only in the fourth inning. In retrospect and in hindsight, and Dave Van Horn's new to this, everybody's new to this with the challenges and the experimental replay in the SEC. Is that worth the challenge?
Well, it is when your shortstop stands up and immediately says he's out. And I think that you have to play off the reaction of what the guys that were involved in the play immediately have afterwards. If Biggers doesn't jump up and say anything, I don't think there's any way that you challenge that. But when he immediately jumps up and starts waving his hand like he was out, to some extent, if you're Dave Van Horn, you don't have much of a choice. The guy that was directly involved in the play is saying he was out.
By the way, that play is not reviewable outside of the SEC. The tag play. There's 6 permanent reviewable calls available in non-conference games in the NCAA tournament, and a tag play is not one of them. Neither is a force play. There are others, but those are the 2 that stand out. I think the other thing to consider is Casey Murphy's thrown 22 pitches to this point in this inning.
Well, it won't, I guess, officially go as a stolen base attempt because ultimately Reese ended up back at first base, but nobody has attempted to steal on Murphy this entire season. He picked the right time to pick the first, that's for sure. He just couldn't complete the play.
That has the Florida fans in a lather. Count is 1-0 on Nick Horvath. 2-1 now to Nick Horvath.
The one thing you've absolutely done, and it may not end up making any difference, is you've changed the pace of Casey Murphy on the mound. He didn't have to, I mean, really, he hadn't had to think about many guys at all. And if nobody's attempted a stolen base on him the entire season, there's a reason. It's because the move's pretty good and the left-hander's pretty quick to home plate. But the pace has definitely increased since it attempted stolen base a minute ago.
A little flinch from the runner. There he goes. Cook's throw is wide of the bag, and Reese will pick it up. It's called a wild pitch officially.
You're not going to see this very much from Grant Cook, because he had all the time in the world on that. It was almost like it was too much time. He can really catch and throw. But this one, he kind of choked the baseball, didn't let go. He caught it clean enough that he's got plenty of time, but it just really gives Carson Shaddy no chance on that throw. Blake Reese taking a chance, read the ball down in the dirt. Really, the only time they're going to throw you out is if the catcher gets over and gloves it cleanly on a block. He did. Cook just couldn't make a throw.
Now 3-1 to Horvath. Cook's not just a good thrower, he's a pretty good receiver too.
Yeah, I mean, Grant Cook's got a chance to play the game for a long time. There's some power there. We've already seen it this weekend. Solid catch and throw guy. And honestly, I think really benefits from playing two different pitches coaches that have been outstanding. Dave Jordan and now Wes Johnson.
To the left side, handled by Wilson. Long throw. That'll end the inning, but not before J.J. Schwartz puts Florida in front. This shot from Schwartz was his 7th of the year. It is as good as gold. That's a moon taxi out to left field, and the Gators have a 3-2 lead. He's an overachiever. I think we know that.
We'll get you an airboat. That's better than an airport. Go straight down the swamp and get some wonderful pictures out of it.
Do airboats come with stewardesses?
Where?
This is Eric Cole at the plate for Arkansas. He's 0 for 1 with the strikeout.
You know, I want to see if that 2-run home run by J.J. Schwartz gives Tyler Dyson a little shot in the arm. And see if he can get back to consistency with the fastball. He was fairly inconsistent against South Carolina. Ended up going 5 innings, and it was enough. Today, if you're Florida, you'd really like 6 or 7. Because then it becomes a Dyson-Michael Bird game. Pitch count's starting to get up there, though. Next pitch will be his 80th.
Three and one now to Cole, the switch hitter. The only switch hitter in this batting order for Arkansas. He struck out his first time. Mentioned Dyson's pitch count. Last time out against South Carolina, it threw 115. 97 the start prior against Rhode Island, and 98 against Stony Brook. Full count to Cole.
Stay with it. I think Cole's an out right now if you can throw a fastball on the inside part of the plate. That barrel's just lagging a little bit with the fastball from Tyler Dyson. Still has plenty of velocity. He's into the low 90s right now.
That one got away from him. 4th walk. Great softball action coming your way next Saturday. SEC Network will be at Sherry Parker Lee Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. Game 1 of the 3-game series between 7th-ranked Georgia and number 2 Tennessee. Game time 5 Eastern, 4 Central here on the SEC Network and also on the ESPN app. 10 teams ranked in the top 25, all 13 in the top 35 of the RPI. Tennessee, well, their long winning streak come to an end last night against South Carolina. That series continues today. South Carolina walked them off. Again upstairs, out of the hand of Tyler Dyson, this time Heston Kjerstad. Freshman's 0 for 2. Jonathan India came in from third to chat with Tyler Dyson just then. How can an infielder help you in this situation?
Sometimes you can just slow pace, which is maybe what Jonathan India was trying to do right there. But India, one of the real leaders on this club, might have saw something mechanically. Heston Kjerstad is a beast. And by the time he gets done at Arkansas, it would surprise me if he hasn't hit 40 to 50 home runs if he stays healthy. I mean, this is real power from a freshman.
And he lines it into left field, into the corner. Langworthy finds it off to Karam. Double for Kjerstad. And Eric Cole advances to third.
You know, he's a pretty advanced hitter at a very young age. And for Kjerstad, a kid that has grown a ton over the last 3 or 4 years, Dave Van Horn talks about him coming to camp, and he didn't look like this. Well, he looks like a man right now. And the approach to me is very, very advanced on the fastball away on a 1-1 count. Because he knows he has the power to hit the ball out the other way, especially with the way that the wind is blowing today. But right there, he lines a fastball to left field. It's an on-base percentage above 500, and it will chase Tyler Dyson, new pitcher for Florida. When we come back, Gators lead at 3-2. Well, for Tyler Dyson, who, when it's right, it can be very special. The mid-90s fastball, slider that he showed really pretty good consistency with today. But Dave Van Horn loaded this lineup up with left-handers, and it forced Tyler Dyson to go about it a little bit differently. And really, it was the left-handers that made the biggest difference today. Two guys that had not played the last few days. Jared Gates, the first to go deep. That a solo home run. After that, it was Evan Lee, who had his first career home run back-to-back against Tyler Dyson. And then ultimately it was a freshman, Heston Kjerstad, who chased him with a double down the left field line. So Jordan Butler, the freshman, comes in now. He was very good last weekend against South Carolina in getting them out of a jam. He'll have to do just that right now.
And here's where the chess match really starts, because Kevin O'Sullivan knows that he goes to Butler here. He knows exactly where Dave Van Horn should and probably will use his pinch hitters. And that would be in the on-deck circle right now, the first, even though Jared Gates is 2 for 2 with a home run.
I think that's the question. You play matchups at the beginning of the game, which clearly worked out. Then do you continue to play matchups in this one when it gets to Jared Gates and Evan Lee, both from the left-hand side?
To go a little bit further down the batting order, you get Gates and Lee, and then Wilson in the 8-hole, who got the start at third base today. 3 prime opportunities for Dave Van Horn to go with big right-handed bats off of his bench. And I thought it was a great explanation, and it also takes you inside Dave Van Horn's mind when he said, we made the decision leaving the ballpark yesterday and the bus ride back to the hotel because they got smoked yesterday. And they were frustrated, and so you could feel his need to change something. And then you see the numbers for Dyson against lefties. And on top of that, what my favorite part of his answer, KP, was when he said, I talked to the guys about it, told them what our game plan was. It was nothing personal.
So I'm not mad at you. But this is what the math says. And the math says if we have more left-handers in there than right-handers, we got a better chance to beat this guy. And the math has been right so far. Now, I mean, it's 5 hits. It's not like they hit him all over the ballpark. Dyson helped a lot, but Fletcher with a fly ball to right, and this would tie it up.
Dalton's throw on its way to third. And tag miss, and it hit the third base coach off of Nate Thompson's backside. So sac fly for Dominic Fletcher. And they're going to leave Gates in. Gates and Lee 4 for 4 with 2 solo home runs. This is, I think, where Kevin O'Sullivan anticipated Dave Van Horn going to a right-hander. He'll take it, though. right? I mean, he gets the lefty-lefty matchup he was hoping for.
Yeah, and Butler's splits, and he hasn't faced nearly as many guys as Tyler Dyson have this year, are almost the exact same against left-handers and right-handers. Left-handers over the course of the season hitting 217 against the left-handed Jordan Butler. Right-handers are hitting 193. So there's not nearly as big of a gap as there was with Tyler Dyson out there, where that difference was 200 points.
Infield is in for Florida. The runner at third and one down. What a difference a day makes. Infield in a tie game here. Dave Van Horn brought his infield in when it was an 8-run game yesterday. Single and a home run for Gates. His home run was just his third of the season, and this only his 13th start. Gates hadn't had a home run since March 1st against Dayton. Probably hadn't had a hit since March 1st. And 2 today. Chases one out of the strike zone.
When Jordan Butler gets to 2 strikes and it's not a 3-2 count, that's where the left-on-left advantage comes in. Because of this pitch right here. It's a low 3/4 arm action, so to a left-handed hitter, it looks like that pitch is coming from back behind you, and then all of the movement is taking it away from the barrel of the bat. It's just tough to keep that front side in, even if you know that's what he's going to do, because it is such good break away from the left-handed hitter.
He starts Evan Lee off with that pitch. 0-1. 7th start of the season for Lee as Dave Van Horn played that hunch and loaded the lineup up. The lefty's 2 for 2 with a home run. Butler hasn't allowed a run. So he didn't allow a run last time out. That was against South Carolina. And he is stretched out. This is a guy who can go deep. He's thrown more than 70 pitches already twice this season.
He started 4 ball games. So he can bridge that gap. Well done.
Back-to-back Ks. Jordan Butler does his job. We'll see how long he stays out there against Arkansas's lefties. Middle of the 5th, tie game.
I'm Andrew Benintendi. I played in Omaha with Arkansas, the College World Series. It was awesome to get there for the state and for ourselves and our team. It was really fun. You got fans from all over the country coming to watch those teams compete, and it's what every team works for every year. To compete at that level is a good time.
Andrew Benintendi wasted no time making an impact in the big leagues, and MLB opening day is right here Thursday on ESPN. Yeah. Baseball tonight will get things started at noon. The Cubs Marlins at 12:30. We'll see how Jeter's squad does. Giants. You looked at A.J. Hinch's lineup lately?
Yeah, I saw it this morning. Giants Dodgers at 7 Eastern, but no Madison Bumgarner.
Oh.
It's a line drive off the pinky the other day, so he's out 6 weeks. We could see for the Giants this year, won't be on opening day, Tyler Beede, former Vanderbilt right-hander, has worked his way through that system. And we will see in the Red Sox outfield 2 former SEC guys, Benintendi and Jackie Bradley Jr.
Both played in Omaha. Jackie Bradley won it all with South Carolina.
And then threw the baseball in the stands, which I think he maybe regrets. Caught the last out, threw in the 18th row.
Do we know who got it?
Jim.
Yeah. Good job, Jim. 1 and 2.
Old Jimmy. Sure-handed Jimmy caught it.
Casey Murphy, 67 pitches into his workday. Arkansas just now populated their bullpen. So we'll see how much longer Murphy will hang out there. He struck out Langworthy in the 3rd inning. Murphy has walked 2 of the last 3 batters he's faced. And he's getting loose behind the right center field wall. Not only has Murphy walked 2 of the last 3, but he's gone to a full count 4 times in the last 5 batters faced.
Florida hasn't done it very much this season. They've only sacked bunted twice the entire year. They did 27 times last year. They've done it twice this year because his offense is so different. Wouldn't shock me if they do it here. Brady Smith has not had too many starts this year. You got Langworthy standing on first base who runs okay, and it would turn the lineup over. And they won't.
Into right, long run for Cole, and it'll drop into foul territory. Kevin O'Sullivan and I had this conversation the other day during batting practice, and one of the reasons they're not bunting as much as they used to is the lack of development for young hitters when they come to the college game. He's like, travel ball, nobody bunts.
Right.
They don't even have signs.
I think it's fair. I do think that you're starting to see, and I think it's extremely healthy, more college coaches realize that statistically it may not be the right play. I mean, the college game can get knocked sometimes for too much bunting, and rightfully so. I think that there is in many cases. What I do like is some of the better offenses in the country have taken that, not entirely out of play, but definitely don't use it nearly as much as they used to. We saw it with TCU last year.
Yeah.
TCU just flat doesn't do it. I mean, it's some of it is a reliance upon your guys. And I was talking to Deacon Lippett about it behind the cage today, just about their different offensive approach. I think it allows athletes to be more athletic. They think a little clearer. They know there's a little bit more confidence in what they're doing on the base pass. And I think, honestly, I think it loosens them up.
And your reference to TCU is that they find other ways to get an extra 90.
They do. I mean, listen, you can create offense with base running. And I'm not talking about just stealing bases, but it's aggressive base running. TCU every year is one of the best teams in the country about going from first to third base. That changes an inning. Brady Smith goes down swinging right there, and that will turn the lineup over.
Deacon Lippett 0 for 2. Struck out on a pitch in the dirt last time up. And it should be noted, it's not like Florida has given up on the bunt entirely. They work on it every single day.
Well, and you just saw Lippett square right there. In this situation, if he squares, he's bunting for a hit. And if he's bunting for a hit, he's probably going to take it with him. When you've got a left-hander on a mound like Casey Murphy, he's going to fall towards the third base side. So if Lippett's going to bunt right here, he's going to try to take it with him towards first base and get it past Murphy. He did show on that first pitch.
Murphy has had a chance to field his position already today. He handled a Nick Horvath dribbler in the second, but he did not do a good job covering the bag on the would-be rundown with Blake Reese in the fourth. 2-0 the count to Deacon Lippett. At third base, Hunter Wilson staring at the sky. 2 down. Wednesday night at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, SEC Inside grants you an all-access pass to the SEC Gymnastics Championship for never-before-seen footage and sound from the coaches and gymnasts. SEC Inside is Wednesday night here on the SEC Network and also on the ESPN app. Two down, here's Nelson Maldonado, a couple of flyouts. One to right and one to center. Casey Murphy could get out of the fifth with fewer than 80 pitches total. The fourth is the outlier. It took him 27 pitches there.
We used to in college when we were keeping the chart, there was one specific area that said 13 pitch innings, and that was kind of the goal, is to keep it right around 13 pitches. If you're at that number, then you're pretty efficient. He's been close to that in every inning but the fourth.
one thing to chart, it's another thing to throw. Was there a number that you noticed as a pitcher that once you got over that number in a given inning that you started to struggle?
I don't know that it was a number, but it was clearly the longer you were standing out there. I didn't. It was a comfort thing. I just didn't like being in the stretch as much as the windup. And honestly, when I look back on my career, it's something that I should have done a much better job of in the bullpen, in getting as comfortable as you possibly can out of the stretch, because ultimately the most important pitches you make in a game are usually going to be out of the stretch. But the more I was in the stretch, usually the more uncomfortable I was.
That's why Greg Maddux would do so much of his work from the stretch.
Yes. He would talk about that. I mean, when he would warm up for games, that it was 80 to 85% of the pitches were thrown out of the stretch for that very reason. If you got to make a pitch during the course of the game, most of the time it's going to be out of the stretch. I just wasn't that smart.
Into right, Cole has plenty of space. Florida got the leadoff runner on via walk, but only couldn't get him in, never got him over. No runs, one left. We go to this SEC series between a pair of top 5 teams, including the defending national champs. Rubber game of this set after Arkansas took game 1 and Florida bounced back with a blowout in game 2. We are locked at 3 as we head to the 6th inning, and the bottom third of the order due up for the Razorbacks, starting with Grant Cook. Dave Van Horn put 7 lefties in his lineup. One of those that was inserted who did not have a ton of starts and not a regular, Hunter Wilson, whose spot is on deck. And a first pitch strike to Cook.
I'd be surprised if we don't see Casey Martin hit next, because it goes in for the exact same position. Martin would go in and play third base, which he's used to. And you'd get a right-hander to face the left-handed Butler.
Butler has faced 3 lefties. He's retired all 3, although Dominic Fletcher hit a sac fly against him. The other side of that equation is if and when you chase Butler, you're getting one of the best closers in the country. Is the 6 too early for Byrne?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think you could make an argument for 9 outs. I mean, I guess it is if you think he's going to finish the game, but it brings in the high leverage argument. So if it's a high leverage situation and you're going to go to the bullpen, I would absolutely go to Byrne. And if there's not enough there to finish the ball game, then you figure it out then. But if you need the biggest outs of the game in the 6th inning, by all means go to Byrne.
And Byrne has yet to pitch this inning. Leadoff walk to Grant Cook, the righty. How good is Michael Byrne? Hadn't allowed a run in 23 2/3. It goes back through their World Series run last year where he led the country in saves.
And you got to remember, this is a guy that coming into last season wasn't really thought of to be the closer. All he did is go save 19 games. And really, I think he was the most unheralded guy on their pitching staff. He hasn't given up a run this year. He hasn't given up a run since the beginning of the College World Series last year. Second in school history with 24 saves. His next will tie the all-time record here at Florida. And here comes the freshman Casey Martin.
Martin, the freshman from Lone Oak, Arkansas, has 7 home runs. He is 7th in the league in slugging. Martin was hitless in yesterday's game. 0 for 4. Wonder how many times Casey Martin has pinch hit.
Hasn't been very much. I think when you look at comps, to me, Casey Martin and Jonathan India are really similar guys. Similar size. India a little bit bigger right now. Martin just a freshman. But I think the raw ability is very comparable between the two. India is a plus defender at third base. Martin's going to turn into a plus defender at third base. He's not the equivalent of India yet, but I think he'll absolutely get there. And both can move to the middle of the infield if you need them to.
Off the end of the bat, shallow left. One down. So if Butler can get through the righties here, including Shaddy, it would have been 3 straight right-handers, and then
you go Biggers from the left side. Yeah, you go Biggers from the left side, and then Cole a switch hitter to follow. But then 4 straight left-handers after that if the lineup stays the same.
And by that point, if they haven't reached base, then you're in burn territory.
This is the one I would be careful with because Carson Shaddy can run one out of here in a hurry.
Reached for it and pulls it through the infield. And Arkansas has 2 on with 1 down.
Talk about it a bunch over the course of this weekend, but the length of this lineup for Arkansas is, to me, why it's as dangerous as any in the entire nation. 9-hole hitter has an on-base percentage above 400. He's got a chance to hit double-digit home runs.
Oh, and he's a senior.
And he's a senior, playing in the middle of the lineup, or playing in the middle of the infield.
So back to the top of the order, and Jax Biggers in a tie game with 2 aboard. Little dribbler to the right side. Freshman getting to the bag late, and the bases are loaded for Arkansas. Jordan Butler just a half step late coming off the mound.
Jordan Butler's a really good athlete, but we talked earlier, a left-hander's natural move when they fall off the mound is over towards third base. So if there's any limitation, and there was just a little bit of a hesitation from Butler and then a little bit of depth on the route. So it wasn't directly to first base. He actually went a little bit closer to where Brady Smith was actually fielding the ball. Now it gets tough because we got to catch, try to find the bag, and there's just not enough time. Biggers running from the left side. That swing is already going to take him that way because the swing path is taking him over towards first base. So it's a half step quicker for Biggers, and it was a half step too slow for Butler on the mound.
So this is the best possible scenario for Arkansas, and it's got Kevin O'Sullivan up against it because Cole is a switch hitter. He goes from the right side against Butler now with the bases loaded. 1 out in the inning. Florida's 4th in the SEC in double plays turn. They're one of the best fielding teams in the league.
And I think this is that point where you look at high leverage situation. Who do I want out there? Because if you bring Michael Byrne in, and I don't know if it's Byrne warming up, we can't see into the bullpen. There's a decent chance he's not going to finish the game. It would now take 11 outs to get there, but whoever it is, it will not be the left-hander Jordan Butler.
Get a read on the number. We can feel the burn here for Florida. He led the nation in saves last year. See if he can come in and shut down Arkansas, tied at 3. Michael Byrne hasn't allowed a run this season. 23 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. He had 2 saves in the series at South Carolina last week on Friday and Sunday. And here he comes with the bases loaded and 1 out. The nation's saves leader last year.
I love the move. I absolutely love the move. It's your closer, but at this point, it's the most important part of the entire ball game. Again, he hasn't given up a run this year. He hasn't given up a run since before the College World Series last year. Control generally not an issue for Michael Byrne. Over the course of the season, this now is 12 appearances. He's walked just 2 in 16 2/3, struck out 14.
Last run allowed came in the Super Regional against Wake Forest.
And for Jordan Butler, I mean, the leadoff walk, which potentially could come back to haunt him, but it was a ball that Carson Shaddy was in front of that just found a hold, and then an infield single. He did not throw poorly at all.
First pitch popped up. Foul territory, India. And that is a monster out.
So Michael Byrne is not your typical closer. as far as the guy that comes out of the bullpen is going to come in and throw mid-90s. He can get it into the low 90s, but it's the control of 3 pitches that's the biggest thing. And so often a hitter, when a guy comes out of the bullpen, is looking for a first pitch fastball, didn't get it there. It was a first pitch changeup from Byrne. Eric Cole was all the way out in front of it, and Byrne now 1 pitch away from getting out of this jam.
Byrne, by the way, is second only to John Pritchard in career saves in Florida history. Pritchard was here late 80s, early 90s. Freshman Heston Kjerstad is 1 for 3. Starts him off with a breaking ball. Hogs 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position today. Little roller. Reese has it, and Byrne does his job. He needs just 3 pitches to finish off Arkansas with the bases loaded. High leverage, I'd say so. Byrne does his job. Middle of the 6th, tied at trade. Rubber match of this 3-game series, and the scoring was over the wall in the 4th. Jared Gates with his 3rd home run of the season. Evan Lee his 1st. And the lefties providing some pop for Arkansas. That gave the Razorbacks the lead. And then J.J. Schwartz launched a 2-run home run in the 4th. We went back and forth there. In the 5th, the Hogs were able to add another on a sac fly from Dominic Fletcher. And on this Sunday, with the wind blowing out, we are tied at 3. Gates and Lee 4 for 6, each with a home run.
2 guys that didn't start any of the first 2 games of this series have had 2 giant swings so far in this one. Casey Murphy, the left-hander, still out there. He's been efficient. He's only given up 2 hits.
Will Doughton is 0 for 2, reached on an error and scored on Schwartz's home run in the 4th. Shaddy, 1 down. Tuesday night on the SEC Network, it's a big one. Sunshine State's hottest baseball rivalry. It's a top 10 showdown. Number 8, Florida State, with Mike Martin at the helm, taking on this Florida squad. It's our annual matchup from the baseball grounds of Jacksonville. Game time 6 Eastern, 5 Central. Also streaming live on the ESPN app.
Florida State and Chapel Hill this weekend split the first 2 with North Carolina, tied at 3 early in Game 3 today.
Boy, what an odd season for North Carolina.
Yeah.
Expectations high, then about a 500 team through the first month and a half.
And to me, it felt like North Carolina was a top 10 type club, but just has not done that consistently this year.
J.J. Schwartz with a 2-run home run in the 4th. That was his 7th home run of the season. Pulled to 3rd. Casey Martin's first crack. High throw, but Gates hauls it. 2 up to 2 down for Murphy.
First chance for Casey Martin over at 3rd base. This is a pitch that is up and out of the zone. I mean, that's about shoulder height for J.J. Schwartz going after that one. Casey Murphy does a really good job of getting guys to swing at pitches that are not strikes. It's where he gets a lot of outs. He gets into plus counts and has the ability to expand the strike zone. And it's not just with the fastball, it's with the slider.
That sounds so simple when you say it.
Get guys to swing at pitches that aren't strikes.
Yeah.
Well, it helps when you're throwing strike 1. If you can get a hitter into a little bit more of a defensive mindset to where they feel like they have to do a little bit more, that's generally when you can expand the zone. And when you're facing a guy like Murphy that you know throws a ton of strikes, guys are a little bit more aggressive to start anyway.
That may have helped Michael Byrne in the previous half inning.
Absolutely, because the book on Byrne is what everybody knows. He's going to pound the strike zone. What Byrne has that most closers don't are 3 quality pitches. Fastball, slider, changeup, he can throw all 3 at any point in the count. So you do know he's going to throw a ton of strikes, but the ability to change velocity, location, and pitch is what he's so good at. And this dude is just flat good at hitting.
Rips it into the left field corner. That'll be his second extra base hit of the game. Jonathan India leads the SEC in hitting, and today he is 2 for 3 with a triple and a double.
I was talking to Lars Davis, a first base coach today, who's a really good offensive mind, and he was talking about India and how they really focus from a power standpoint on getting him to trust his body, take the ball the other way, because they know he can handle this one. The fastball in is one that India has always been able to handle. The question was whether or not you can generate power the other way. Well, he's proven that he can. And this one, this is the one that he's comfortable with. When you try to challenge him in when he's ready to go, those hands just work perfectly, and he shoots it down the left field line. That's a guy that is a huge, huge advantage for this program. Lars Davis, technically the volunteer assistant, but plays a huge offensive role on this team.
Blake Reese at the plate. I don't know if there's anyone more important offensively to this team.
I mean, he's usually the guy that's leaning on the cage during BP. He's really the main offensive voice that these Florida hitters hear.
And it goes hand in hand with positive reinforcement.
Well, yeah, without a doubt. Got a guy that played a lot of pro ball, so understands the patience and the growth component of this game. And listen, it helps when you got the talent that rolls through here.
8 years in pro ball for Lars Davis with the Rockies, Diamondbacks, and Phillies up to AAA. The talent that comes through here is not only they good when they get here, but they're moldable, right? I mean, it's one thing if you're trying to work with a product that doesn't have potential. You won't see any return on your investment.
I was talking to Kevin O'Sullivan about Jonathan India before the game, and I just made the comment, I think the guy's going to play in the big leagues for a long time. He said we thought he would when he showed up. Just had a skill set. And the growth clearly has to come, but strength comes, and maturity comes, comfort at the plate comes. All of that has come together this year for India.
3 balls and a strike to Blake Reese.
I think there's certain things that you can't teach guys. You can't teach a guy to have good hands. I mean, defensively, you either have them or you don't. You can fine-tune some things, but some guys just have better hands. He's got great hands. He can really defend, and those hands carry over to the plate.
Full count. Murphy nearing the century mark in pitches. His 95th is ball 4.
Pretty good at bat from Blake Reese. As he took a 3-1 pitch that I thought maybe he would jump on. It was a fastball right down the middle. Then he got a 3-2 slider and took it. He got that 3-2 slider because first base is open. But still, the hand started, was able to hold it up, and now standing on first base, it's a new count for Nick Corbin.
New count, but same jet stream blowing out to left. We've seen 3 home runs in this game, all out to left. Horvath is 0 for 2. Horvath had an interesting approach in the cage today when we were watching. A leg kick.
Yeah, which you won't see nearly as pronounced when he gets into the game. He said a lot of it was just to try to get his hands going a little bit more in BP. The one thing that we have seen from Horvath this year, at least more so than years in the past, is the power. He's got 3 home runs. He's turned himself into a good offensive player towards the back end of this lineup. He's always going to defend. That's why he was in there before. But now the bat is not a liability. The bat has really been beneficial for Florida's offense.
Just a tick under 300 thanks to an 0 for 2 thus far today. Matt Cronin is the Arkansas closer. He figures to throw sometime soon. We're in the 6th inning and nearing a high leverage situation if we're not already in it. But there are 2 outs here in the 6th.
Matt Cronin, the Arkansas closer, threw 2 innings in the opener.
Looks like Cronin's wasting no time getting ready. After Horvath, it's the lefty Langworthy. Wes Johnson out to chat. Do you think this is the final one for Murphy?
Cronin's not just playing catch.
No.
I mean, it looks like it's thrown clearly with an intent right there. I mean, I do think it's Murphy's last hitter regardless. Whether Horvath reaches or if he gets him out to end the inning, I think you go to Cronin to start the 7th. But we'll see if he gets that far.
1-0 is the count.
Greg Cook did something before the first pitch of the at-bat. He walked out to talk to Casey Murphy and brought Carson Shaddy in, and I would assume they switched up signs. So they may have seen Jonathan India moving a little bit more than they were comfortable with at second base, switch up signs to make sure that he's not picking and relaying something from second base. And then Shaddy went over to Jack Spiggers, the shortstop, to make sure that he knew exactly what the change was.
India's the runner at second, Reese at first. The 1-0 just off the plate. 2-0. Twelve of Horvath's 16 ribbies have come with runners in scoring position. He has 3 home runs on the year. In the air, right center field, long run, Fletcher there in time, and Florida strands a pair here in the 6th inning. No runs, a hit, 2 left on. The Gators have stranded 4 over the last 3. Who will crack through? We're tied with 3 as we go to the 7th in this top 5 matchup. Florida closer Michael Byrne needed just 3 pitches to find 2 outs with the bases loaded in the 6th. On the mound to start the 7th in this tie game. Fletcher, Gates, and Lee due up. 24 1/3 now consecutive scoreless, covering 16 appearances. Back to Florida's super regional win against Wake Forest last year. First pitch swinging, and Fletcher pulls it foul. How does Fletcher's approach match up with Burns' stuff?
Well, if he gets that pitch, I don't know who's standing in there. If you're 8 inches off the plate and get it. You know, the one thing with Fletcher right now is the comfort part of his zone is outer third. He's really pulling the outside part of the plate. And for Michael Byrne, he's not afraid to throw that one, that slider down and in. I do think if you elevate a fastball in on the inside part of the plate, I don't think Fletcher can keep it fair right now. He may get to it, but if he gets to it, he's going to hit it 50 feet foul. The one you got to be careful of is that changeup that hangs in the zone.
Chopper to first. Smith's got it, 1 down.
I stood and watched Fletcher a lot during batting practice, and the swing in batting practice looks different than the swing in the game. And that happens sometimes. I mean, he had a sac fly to right, left on left slider that he pulled to right field. It really was off the plate. But it seems like the approach is similar to what we've seen this year. I would love to see him pepper the left field wall a few times and just get back to using the middle of the field, because he is supremely talented. When it's working, he can do some special things at the plate.
Here's Jared Gates, 2 for 3 today. At a Wichita North High School. And then Iowa Western Community College. 9 straight strikes thrown by Michael Byrne. He's retired all 4 batters he's faced, and he's done it on just 9 pitches.
Now, this is how you lengthen an outing, that's for sure. Byrne's one of those guys that I think sometimes hitters will come back and you look up, it gets you out every time, and you come back and say, I'm not quite sure. Like, it's not blow your mind stuff. They just don't make hard contact very much against this guy.
Back to the strike zone, and this one is over the bag, foul, just outside of the bag apparently. A lot of reviewable calls in the SEC this year. Fair or foul on a ground ball is not one of them. So he's thrown 12 pitches and 11 have been strikes. Make it 12. Michael Byrne puts him down in order. He's needed just 12 pitches to find 5 outs. Time to stretch in Gainesville. Tied at
New Lockett.
So 13 pitches and 12 strikes from Michael Byrne to find 5 outs, and he's now run his consecutive scoreless inning streak to 25 1/3.
That works. 13 pitches, 12 are strikes. He's got 5 outs out of those 13 pitches. And I think the one question when they brought in Michael Byrne in the 6th inning is, can he finish the ball game and can he get you 11 outs? Well, when he gets you 5 outs on 13 pitches, it gives him a lot better chance to do it. What he did do is get him out of a bases loaded jam on 3 pitches.
Florida's going to send up a pinch hitter here, Kirby McMullen. Sophomore from down the road in Ocala. And McMullen takes the place of the lefty Langworthy. The closer, Matt Cronin, is available in the Arkansas bullpen. He threw 2 innings of 1-hit scoreless baseball on Friday. .100 pitches for Casey Murphy. To third. That one eats up Casey Martin. No play made. A hot shot puts McMullen aboard.
That ball was smoked. And this is a pretty fast track here in Gainesville too, so it's going to get on you in a hurry. We've already seen this a few different times. A ball up the middle that handcuffed Deacon Lippett earlier, and this one just gets on Casey Martin a lot quicker than he expects that ball to get there. So leadoff man on, and now we'll have a pinch runner, but Hunter McMillan did his job right there.
Andrew Baker into run.
Excuse me, Kirby McMullen. He was on the mound yesterday, comes in, sees a few pitches, and gets himself standing on first base.
There was a bunting situation a couple of innings ago for Brady Smith after a leadoff walk to Langworthy. He didn't even square. Eventually struck out, and they were unable to move Langworthy up. See if they change their approach here with Baker running. Arkansas is second in the SEC in double plays turned. One ball, one strike.
Well, I didn't think that Murphy would come back and start this inning. I don't think there's any chance he faces Deacon Lippett. I think after this, regardless of what happens, Arkansas goes to the bullpen and we see the left-hander Matt Cronin. I have to think the way that Murphy threw today and the struggles that Isaiah Campbell had yesterday, this guy's got to be in your weekend rotation the balance of the year. He's just so dependable. You know exactly what you're going to get. He may give up a few home runs and he may give up a few hits, but Isaiah Campbell just really scuffled yesterday. Walked 4 in an inning plus. Never really gave Arkansas a chance. It just feels like Murphy's going to give you a chance every time he goes out there.
As it pertains to today's game, the only benefit is that game was so out of reach that didn't use key components out of their bullpen.
No, exactly. So you didn't have to use Matt Cronin yesterday. He threw 2 innings in the opener, but had all day yesterday off.
That'll take care of Brady Smith, who has struck out twice in the last 2 innings with the runner at first and nobody out. So you would think that this would be a prime position to go to your closer, Cronin.
Yeah, and I think they will. Dave Van Horn turned around, talked to Wes Johnson for a minute, now makes his way out there. But you got to be proud of what Casey Murphy did for you today. You look up, he's got you into the 7th inning, gave up just 4 hits. And got a big out there that honestly saves a few pitches for Cronin. Now with Deacon Lippett, the leadoff hitter, coming up from the left-hand side, I think this is the time that you will absolutely see the closer.
2 of the 3 allowed today by Murphy were earned. So we are in the 7th inning in a game that will be decided by the bullpens. 2 of the best closers in the league now going head-to-head. Well, Murphy's law was right on the money today for Arkansas. The lefty goes 6 1/3, 6 strikeouts, only allowed 4 hits. And if it wasn't for an error in the 4th inning, he would have left with the lead. As it stands, in 3-all game, and he leaves with a runner on.
I think he threw great, and I think that's it's what you expect when Casey Murphy goes out there. That he's really going to put you in a position to win the ball game, or at least keep you in it. Only gave up 4 hits. 2 of them to Jonathan India, a triple off the right field fence and a double down the left field line. The big swing was a 2-run home run by J.J. Schwartz. But now you get a chance to hand the ball to your closer. And if you're Arkansas to start this ball game, if you could turn it into a 2-arm game, the first one gets you deep enough that you can bring this guy in to potentially finish it. That works out just fine. Matt Cronin has very good stuff. 22 strikeouts in 17 1/3. Very fastball heavy, and the fastball gets a lot of swing and miss.
He did allow 2 runs last time out to Kentucky. He went 2 2/3 in that one and threw 50 pitches. Lippett is 0 for 3. He came in as hot as anybody in the league with 10 hits in his previous 13 at-bats. Part of a 3-game hit streak for Lippett coming into this afternoon's contest. Andrew Baker back. Shallow left. 2 down. Pardon me, that was right.
Spun the field on that.
And it wasn't very shallow either.
Tricky, the whole directional thing. The whole directional thing, like walking, is very difficult. I totally understand.
Did they rotate the field while I was gone? Here's Nelson Maldonado. By the way, Florida's got a new ballpark coming in a couple of years.
Yeah, and it's nice.
$50 million nice.
Part of $130 million athletic infusion that will happen here in Florida. There'll be a new football facility right where we sit. The baseball stadium and the softball stadium gets totally redone.
Well, when you have an AD who's been at some baseball-heavy schools, including Mississippi State, where every Super Bulldog weekend they draw 13, 14, 15,000. You have a guy in Scott Strickland that understands what baseball can do from a revenue standpoint.
Well, and you know, comparative to other facilities within this league, it was time to do something, and whether it was do something here or build something new, clearly the decision was to build something new. But it's well deserved, and a trend that we continue to see. The new Dudy Noble opened this year. Kentucky's new ballpark being constructed right now.
This is what it'll look like. You notice that thing called a roof? That'll be nice.
Yeah, that'll make some people happy. I won't get sunburned as much every time I roll in to do a game. Construction will start this fall. Opening day 2020. They will be ready to play baseball.
I like the ceiling fans. Kind of like you'll see at the baseball grounds of Jacksonville this week. Wow, that one is turned on and torched. 2-run shot, and Florida's got the lead. Fourth home run for Nelson Maldonado. 5-3 Gators.
You're going to get a lot of fastballs from Matt Cronin, and the one thing that Maldonado can do better than maybe anybody else on the field is hit a high fastball. He can turn a fastball around. It does not matter how hard you're throwing, and he proved it right there. To the spot where the wind is blowing, and it's a no-doubter the minute it comes off the bat. Maldonado's 4th home run of the game gives the Gators a 2-run lead. And against a guy like Cronin, it doesn't feel like you're going to get 3 or 4 hits in an inning. It's the big strike that's probably going to beat him, and that big strike right there is a huge shot in the arm for Florida.
Maldonado was just 1 for 10 this weekend before that blast. This is inside to Will Dalton. Where's your rental car?
Next to yours.
Right about where that thing landed.
It's close. Take the insurance?
Never thought of it. The great Braves scout Paul Snyder always said, back your car in. Therefore, if it hits any of your windows, it'll take out your back windshield and you can still drive back to the rental car place.
It's called experience.
To third, Martin. And that'll close the 7th, but not before Nelson Maldonado gets a hold of one. This one took a ride on the moon taxi. A tomahawk shot deep to left. It might be a windshield cracker. Gives the Gators the lead. It's 5-3. Home run of the season for Nelson Maldonado was a no-doubter. And he gave the Gators a 2-run lead late in this one. Michael Byrne on the mound for Florida. 24 saves in his career. Now he's in line for a win. 7-hole hitter Grant Cook leads off. That was just off the plate. A couple of changes. Keenan Bell has entered the game at first base for Florida. He'll be in the 9-hole. And Andrew Baker stays in the game in left. He originally entered as a pinch runner. Cook into center. The ball flies out of this ballpark to right and to left.
Yeah, everywhere except there.
Yeah,
everywhere except there. And that's why, I mean, historically, when you look, Florida's usually got a pretty good center field because you got to cover a lot of ground out there, and you got an opportunity to make a lot of plays.
They've had some great ones. Matt Dendecker used his speed out there. Line drive, base hit. Casey Martin. A tying run coming to the plate. It's Carson Shaddy. You're talking about the length of this Arkansas batting order, and here's Shaddy again in the 9-hole. There's 6 home runs.
Already has a hit today, has reached base twice.
Week 1, he was the SEC Player of the Week. He drove in 9 in just 12 plate appearances. Got a home run and 4 runs driven in. Ooh, that one caught J.J. Schwartz in the thigh.
I thought that was a foul ball off the knob, but Carson Shaddy immediately turned and said it hit him in the wrist. It seemed like it hit the knob of the bat.
Hit by pitch calls are reviewable in the SEC.
Watch the knob of the bat when he comes through. No, it didn't hit the knob of the bat, it hit the barrel of the bat. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I give Carson Shaddy credit. That was, he drew. I don't think I've ever seen this. He pointed, his wrist is taped up. He pointed to his wrist almost like to say, hey, look, it hit me in the wrist. You can see it, but there's tape there. You can't tell exactly where it hit him. I have a feeling he's going to come back and go back to work because that absolutely hit the barrel of the bat.
So Kevin O'Sullivan uses a challenge here. And both coaches will have used their challenge. I shouldn't ask this out loud, but I'm going to.
Sure.
How do we know? Shouldn't there be a signal that they're using a challenge versus the crew chief is initiating a review on his own?
I think this one is initiated by the crew chief. I think when you get to this point, now you can go out and say, hey, I think you guys ought to take a look at it, but formally, and that's the thing. I mean, a lot of these we don't know whether or not it's a formal challenge or whether ultimately it's the umpires that make the decision to do it. But
umpire crew chief may initiate review of all the permanent calls and the experimental calls at his discretion beginning with the 8th inning. What? He said it hit him?
Oh, I don't agree with this. Based on what we saw, I have no idea what those guys just saw. I have no idea how Carson Shaddy is standing on first base right now.
They do not have any other angles that are not available to us, and this is what they are looking at.
I mean, that ball clearly hit the barrel of the bat. Now, could it have nicked his wrist on the way by? Maybe. I don't know. But
this angle would tell you. It's not close to his
It's the wrong call. It is absolutely the wrong call. And the process worked. Well, it didn't work. The process happened the way that it's supposed to happen. But I have no idea how that was not seen because it clearly hit the barrel of the bat.
Luke Bonfield now will hit.
Well, you don't know if you don't ask. And I tell you what, tip your hat to Carson Shaddy right there because he's standing on first base because of turning around and saying it hit him.
I want to also point out they weren't underneath very long. The jury was not out for long. Thought they saw something. Maybe it hit him. Take a listen.
I mean, by sound, you can't hear it hitting the bat. And in fact, I think most of what you hear is the ball hitting J.J. Schwartz back behind home plate. But when you run it back, the misdirection of the ball, when the ball changes direction, clearly happened because it hit the barrel of the bat.
into shallow right. Dalton on, still charging. 2 down. Barrel or forearm?
I mean, watch his bat move back. Part of that is what happens to the bat afterwards, and clearly, I mean, the ball is going to, he's not swinging the bat, the ball's going to force the barrel to go backwards, and it absolutely did. Whatever, I mean, it's done and over, and thankfully we do have replay that we can take a look at it, but I think the boys missed it.
So Eric Cole at the plate now. From the left side. And Byrne misses inside. 2 on. High to right. Dalton has space. It's a non-issue. Fly out to right. 2 stranded in the 8th inning. This is a thriller here, and when we get going, Chandler Taylor and Alabama taking on Tennessee. Raw power from the big lefty. That's when we finish. But first, bottom of the 8th in Gainesville in a 2-run game. This was a game changer. 7th inning tie game. Nelson Maldonado tomahawks one to left, his 4th homer of the year. And it gave the Gators just their 2nd lead of the game.
Well, it's become a battle of closers. Matt Cronin, the closer for Arkansas, comes on at a big spot. Nelson Maldonado turns one around. Michael Byrne, the closer for Florida, came on at a huge spot. Bases loaded, 1 out in the 6th inning. He got out of that jam with 3 pitches and really has cruised since then. Byrne has given up just 1 hit. Florida now 3 outs away from winning the series. Both teams would be 4-2 in the league.
J.J. Schwartz hit a 2-run game-tying home run in the 4th inning. And Cronin buries a breaking ball in the first pitch. We're busy looking at replay after replay whether or not Carson Shaddy was hit by a pitch in the last half inning. We kind of skimmed over the fact that J.J. Schwartz, as he yanks one foul, took that carom right into his thigh. That's probably going to leave a mark.
I was talking to him before the game today just about what's it feel like to catch every day. He's like, you know what, it feels pretty good. Sometimes you think twice after taking one off the thigh. Jack Kenley now in the ball game at shortstop for Arkansas.
You asked him on the wrong day. Ask him again Tuesday.
Or post game.
Kenley taking over for Biggers, who was pinch hit for by Bonfield. Who wants it? It'll be Casey Martin. And so here's Jonathan India. What a weekend. And another monster day. India hit a grand slam yesterday in the 1st inning, the deciding blow in a Florida blowout. Tripled off the top of the fence in the 2nd. And doubled in the 6th.
What a season. Hitting above 400, on base above 500, leads the 2nd on the club in home runs with 9. And he's walked more than he's struck out over the course of the year.
To short, Jack Kenley, 2 down. Vanderbilt beat LSU today 1-0. Only 2 hits for the Tigers. They have really struggled in Nashville over their years. Mason Hickman, the freshman, gets the win for the Commodores. And they've got Florida next week right here. Games Saturday and Sunday on the SEC Network.
which you will see in person, and then you'll talk about it. Michael Byrne, we weren't sure if he could finish this one. He will absolutely be back out there for the 9th inning. A save situation. He's just fine with it, though. Byrne in line for the win.
The 1-1. Another infield pop-up. Cook out there, called off by Martin. 26 and a third consecutive scoreless innings for Michael Byrne. Plus all the baseball and softball matchups too, including a big one right here in Gainesville across campus with the Gators on the diamond. Nobody covers the SEC like we do, and you can always watch on the ESPN app. Michael Byrne going to work. Whoa! Hot shot, hit a rock, goes over the top of Keenan Bell and into the corner. Heston Kjerstad is standing up at second base, the leadoff double in a 2-run game.
It's the second time that Kjerstad has faced Byrne. This time he gets a first pitch changeup, and the freshman went to school in the first at bat. He was ready for it, hooks it down that first base line. It just takes a hop. There's nothing Keenan Bell can do on that one. That shoots over the top of his head. It's a leadoff double for the freshman here in the 9th.
And now the tying run at the plate in the form of Dominic Fletcher's got 3 home runs on the season. And he's driven in 17. First pitch strike to Fletcher. Fletcher homered in the first game of this series. Close.
Good pitch, good call. Trying to run that two-seamer off, see if you can get a swing at it. Fletcher with a good take and a ball that clearly was off the plate.
Into right center field. Horvath chasing. That ball is off the top of the fence. Kjerstad will be stopped at third, and that is inches away from tying the game. What a shot by Fletcher. And you can tell how much the wind carried it because Horvath got surprised the way that ball was getting all the way to the fence.
Yeah, I don't think Nick Horvath thought that a ball could go over his head, and Fletcher just has a different kind of power from the left side. They're working him away, and I just feel like that's where he wants it right now and has the ability to do that. Take that ball that's away and still hit it to right center with a ton of authority. Fletcher hit about 10 balls in the street today in BP. Everything was really working right. That time got one elevated enough he could get in the air, and it's back-to-back doubles for Arkansas. But on that pitch, Kjerstad forced to hold at second base to make sure that ball got down so he could not score.
Here's Jared Gates, and he rips one to right. Caught, tagging from third, and Kjerstad, and he will score. Kjerstad scores and makes it a 1-run game.
I like this play in right field by Will Dalton. And if it's the second inning, you might try to throw the guy out at home plate. If it's a 1-run game, you absolutely try to throw the guy out at home plate. But with a 2-run lead, it makes a lot of sense to keep Fletcher standing at second base. So Dalton goes back, then comes in, has the ability to make the play, but does not throw home. If he does, Fletcher's standing on third base. But instead, that decision to throw it to third forces Fletcher to stick at second base. I think the run's probably going to score anyway. It's going to take a perfect throw to have any chance to get Kjerstad at home plate, but it's a heads-up play and right.
So Kevin O'Sullivan out to chat with his closer, Michael Byrne, and that snaps a 26 2/3 consecutive scoreless inning streak. He was trying to catch Kelly Pryor's record that stood back in 1966. Byrne has thrown 29 pitches to this point. Nobody throwing back in the garage, which is Florida's bullpen.
29 pitches, and he's got 9 outs.
Here's Evan Lee.
Pretty much straight up in the outfield. Horvath maybe shaded a little bit the opposite way due to the wind. The infield's playing fairly straight up too.
Into right. Dalton. Catch made. Second out. Strong throw. Well, they're not going to try to run on him anytime soon. 2 down. By the way, the season high in pitches for Byrne, the closer, is 34. That happened back early March against Stony Brook. He's at 31 now. You mentioned the efficiency. You get out every 3 pitches, you're doing all right.
Grant Cook takes a chance here. Just sit slider. Because if this at bat goes on, you have to think you're going to get 1 or 2 of those from Michael Byrne.
Razorbacks down to their last out, tying run at second. Grant Cook is hitless today. Chase the changeup, nothing in 1. Or the slider, either one.
I don't think he was sitting slider.
Fletcher is the runner at second. Went back to it, nothing in 2. Top 5 showdown in a 1-run game in the 9th inning of Game 3. Burns 0-2 to Cook, and he lays off of it. What's next in the sequence?
Well, he's running 3 straight, and Cook swung through 2 of them. I have no problem throwing that one again, but I don't think you're trying to throw it over the plate. In fact, I don't know if you try to throw anything over the plate. The balance of this at bat, see if Cook will chase.
Arkansas second in the nation in home runs. Cook has 5 of them. The 1-2. Laid off the slider, 2-2. Season high in pitches for Byrne. This will be his 36th. Little dribbler, curls fair. Byrne covers the bag, and it's kicked by Bell to end the game. The side spin brought that one back fair, and it closes it out. Byrne shakes his head. Dave Van Horn can't believe it. What a weekend in Gainesville. And 2 of the top teams in college baseball show what they're good at.
These are 2 national title contenders, and they should be the entire season if they stay healthy on the mound. But for Florida, we saw a difference in offense this year. They scored 17 runs yesterday. Today, it was the power that really was the difference. We know about the power from Arkansas. It's been in the entire season, but it's 2 of the premier teams in the entire country, and really got a Game 3 that you would expect, one that came all the way down to the wire.
And this was the last play. A little bit of English off the bat of Grant Cook.
Well, it was all sliders that he saw in the at-bat. We talked yesterday. I mean, we saw this exact same thing on a right-hander, a ball that starts foul, kind of checks up like an L wedge and comes back into play. And Michael Byrne gets 11 outs to get the win and give Florida a series win.